Before talking about how to fix silvery barbs, let's first talk about why it may need fixing. So what the silvery barbs do? This video will assume you know the basics of D&D. It's a first level spell. When a creature within 60 feet of you succeeds on an attack roll, ability check or saving throw, you force them to roll another d20, and they have to take the lower result. You then give advantage to a different creature on their next attack roll, ability check or saving throw. Okay, why is this a problem? Let's go over it one by one. It does a lot. I would say too much for a first level spell. Now, to be fair, there are a lot of low level spells that do similar things. Disadvantage on the next attack roll is imposed by multiple cantrips like Frostbite and Vicious Mockery, and many spells lower a creature's next save, like Mind Sliver and Bane. And of course, the Lucky Feat has the same effect on attack rolls against you. Okay, so let me explain why these comparisons show the flaws with silvery barbs. Let's start with that silvery barbs doesn't impose disadvantage. It imposes another d20 roll. A creature can have advantage, roll a 12 and a 16, and thus rolled a 16. Then silvery barbs is cast, so the target rolls another d20, a 14. The lower is chosen, 14. That the creature has advantage is made largely irrelevant. This becomes a problem when you realize that this just bypasses things like magic resistance. And then there is the element that it takes no setup. You have to cast Mind Sliver and Bane before the trigger you want them to suck at, while silvery barbs can be cast afterwards. Which also brings me to another point. It's irresistible. Every one of the comparable spells and features gives the creature a save or it needs to be hit. Silvery barbs just happens. It doesn't matter if we're talking a small goblin or Orcus Demon Prince of Undeath. Silvery barbs just takes root. Now, I understand why. It already forces another dice roll, and reactions are almost always kept short. They don't want to bog down a turn with one reaction. I get it, but I don't think they considered the implications. Now, you may be saying, Vinix, that plain isn't true. The Lucky and Second Chance feat both also force rerolls without any ability to resist. Which is absolutely true. However, those feats are more limited than silvery barbs. For one, they only work on attacks against you. They don't protect allies. And they don't affect the enemy's saves. And they are way more limited in how often they can be used. Lucky is only 3 times per long rest, while Second Chance is once per combat. So you can use Lucky more often in a single fight, but then you won't be able to use it for your attacks, saves or ability checks for the rest of the day. While silvery barbs can be used with any spell slot. And at higher levels, you have a lot of them. Let me also explain why you maybe don't want massively powerful spells in the game, or at least some spells that are way more powerful than others. It brings you into conflict with others, or at least it can. If one player can do way more than other players, the others may feel useless, or they may try to catch up. This can make them feel forced to pick more powerful options instead of options they would like more, or feel like, I'm just sitting here while they are removing all the problems. It can also create conflicts with the DM, and this can easily ruin a game. Here is something a lot of DMs will do. They will give you challenges appropriate to what you can handle. Don't believe me? Why are you fighting 3 goblins at level 1 and 3 trolls at level 10? But this doesn't just go by level NCR. For instance, my previous campaign I would make most encounters hard or deadly, while with my current campaign I generally, I didn't expect you guys to stand and fight a fucking ancient white dragon zombie. I go for more medium to hard encounters, because the previous party was larger with more powerful gear. But if the party or one person in the party gets really powerful and the DM doesn't watch it, they may easily create challenges specifically to fuck over the party or that one player. Plenty of horror stories like that on the internet. I got one of those myself too. And silvery barbs can definitely trigger that. Don't think it's that powerful? Okay, let's take a simple scenario. An 11th level party is fighting a Behir. The wizard casts Disintegrate. The Behir succeeds on its save. The bard casts Silvery Barbs, so the Behir needs to roll again. Do you know what's normally required for another roll against Disintegrate? Another casting of Disintegrate. A 6th level spell. The bard copied the effects of a 6th level spell cast with an action, with a 1st level spell and a reaction. So now that I've explained why it could be a problematic spell, could be. Not saying it is, not saying it requires change, I'm just saying that you as DM may want to change it, or as player might want to bring it up with the DM if you worry about it. But since that's explained, let's talk about some ways for fixing it. I have 3 suggestions. They aren't mutually exclusive, but I think one of them is enough. Option number 1. Invert positive and negative. As simple as it sounds. Silvery Barbs is mainly great at making sure an enemy fails, which can make you come off as the super powerful one in the group. What if we instead made its focus to make sure your allies succeeded? Instead of triggering on a creature and race succeeding, it triggers on a creature failing, then doing a reroll, and then imposing a disadvantage on the next save, attack or ability check on a different creature. This will at least get rid of most of the conflict with players, since instead of being the person who takes care of all the enemies, you become the person who makes the whole party succeed. Option number 2. Give it a save. This will make it take slightly more time, and thus I only recommend this for DMs who manage to have combat moving pretty quickly. But this gets rid of the problem where you can just do it. Instead, it'll work most of the time. And more powerful beings will resist it more often. So yes, you can do it on the Behir, but Orcus has a high chance of not being affected. Instead of being something you can just do, it's something that might work. But you can't be sure if you can even get that reroll. I would say make the advantage always go through if the save is failed. Up to you if you give advantage even if the save is succeeded. I would say that the save the creature needs to make should be either Wisdom, like most spells of this type, or Charisma, like things like Bane. Option number 3. Give it a material component. The least changing option, and equally the potentially least effective one. Just give it a material cost, probably consumed on casting. Suddenly it's not just a 1st level spell that the party will have so many of, and in higher levels are basically free. Suddenly you'll only have so many castings while traveling until you find, make, or commission more of the material components. This puts how often the spell can be cast completely in the hands of the DM. If they don't allow you to find the material components, you won't be able to cast the spell. But if you have a more relaxed DM, it'll just be another resource to manage. Hell, suddenly the smithing proficiency could come in super handy, as you could turn silver coins into material components. So what should the material component be? I would go for a fish, made from silver, maybe for an amount of silver equal to 10 or 20 pieces, making the material total in cost 1 or 2 gold, maybe costing 3 to 6 gold to have made for you for the work spent on it. The fish should probably look a bit like the Barbonimus gonionotus, aka the Java barb, aka the silver barb. I don't hate silvery barbs, I just think it does a bit too much for its cost. So I'd say either change how much it does, or give it a higher cost. I hope this was helpful to somebody. This has been Phoenix, saying farewell.